The Nash Metropolitan is an American automobile that was assembled in England and marketed from 1953 until 1961. It conforms to two classes of vehicle, economy car and subcompact car. In current U.S. terminology, the Metropolitan is a subcompact, but this category was not yet in use when the car was made. At that time, it was variously categorized, for example, as a small automobile, as well as an economy car. The Metropolitan was also sold as a Hudson when Nash and Hudson merged in 1954 to form the American Motors Corporation, AMC, and later as a standalone marque during the Rambler years, as well as in the United Kingdom and other markets. 1954 Nash Metropolitan Convertible, 1957 Hudson Metropolitan, 1961 Metropolitan fender emblem. While most domestic automobile makers were following a "bigger is better" philosophy, Nash Motor Company executives were examining the market to offer American buyers an economical transportation alternative. The Metropolitan was designed in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It was patterned from a concept car, the NXI, Nash Experimental International, that was built by Detroit-based independent designer William J. Flageolet for Nash Kelvinator. It was designed as the second car in a two-car family, for mom taking the kids to school or shopping, or for dad to drive to the railroad station to ride to work, the commuter, shopping car, with resemblance to the Big Nash, but the scale was tiny as the Met's wheelbase was shorter than the Volkswagen Beetle's. The NXI design study incorporated many innovative features and attempted to use interchangeable front and rear components. The symmetrical door skins were the only interchangeable items used in production. Although more complex, the new vehicle also incorporated Nash's advanced single-unit, unit body, construction. It was displayed at several Views, survey previews, commencing on 4 January 1950, at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, New York, to gauge the reaction of the American motoring public to a car of this size. The result of these Views convinced Nash that there was a market for such a car if it could be built at a competitive price. A series of prototypes followed that incorporated many of the improvements from the Views, that included roll-up glass side windows, a more powerful engine, and a column-mounted transmission shifter with bench seat, rather than bucket-type seats with floor shift fitted in the concept car. The model was named NKI, for Nash Kelvinator International, and it featured revised styling incorporating a hood blister and rear wheel cutouts. Nash was positioning this new product for the post-war market for personal use, autos. These specific use vehicles were as a second car for women or an economical commuter car. The Metropolitan was also aimed at returning Nash to overseas markets. However, Mason and Nash's management calculated that building such a car from scratch in the U.S. would be impossible because the tooling costs would have been prohibitive. The only cost-effective option was to build overseas using existing mechanical components: engine, transmission, rear end, suspension, brakes, electrical, leaving only the tooling cost for body panels and other unique elements. With this in mind, Nash Motors negotiated with several European companies. On 5 October 1952, they announced that they had selected the Austin Motor Company, by then part of BMC, and Fisher & Ludlow, which also became part of BMC in September 1953, later operating under the name Press Steel Fisher, both English companies based in Birmingham, England and vicinity. Fisher & Ludlow would produce the bodywork, the mechanicals would be provided, and the Austin Motor Company would perform the final assembly. This was the first time an American-designed car, to be exclusively marketed in North America, had been entirely built in Europe. It became a captive import, a foreign-built vehicle sold and serviced by Nash, and later by American Motors, through its dealer distribution system. It is believed that Austin completed the first pre-production prototype on 2 December 1952. In all, 5 pre-production prototypes were built by Austin Motors and tested before the start of production. The styling for all Nash vehicles then was an amalgam of designs Rom Pininfarina and his design house of Italy and the in-house Nash design team. The Nash models, from the Ambassador to the Metropolitan, utilized similar design features, including fully enclosed front wheels, notched, pillow-style door pressing, bar-style grille, etc. The new Metropolitan was made in 2 body designs, convertible and hardtop. All came with several standard features that were optional on most cars of the era. Among these factory-installed benefits for customers were a map light, electric windshield wipers, cigar lighter, and even a Continental-type, rear-mounted spare tire with cover. To give a luxury image to the interior, Bedford cord upholstery trimmed with leather was used, similar to larger Nash vehicles. An AM radio, weather eye, heater, and white-wall tires were offered as optional extras for the U.S. market. It is unlikely that a Metropolitan could have been purchased without a heater and radio, as all vehicles left the factory with both items fitted. The Metropolitan was the first post-war American car that was marketed specifically to women. The Dodge La Femme was introduced 1 year later. The first spokesperson for the car was Miss America 1954, Evelyn A. Sempier. According to Collectible Auto magazine, the car was described in Car Life's review as a big car in miniature, that was fun to drive, and ideal for a second car in the family, while Motor Trend was not alone in regarding the rear utility seat as a joke. 19. Motor Trend praised the car's economy. Its test Metropolitan returned 39.4 mpg US, 5.97 L, 100 km, 47.3 mpg imp, at 45 miles per hour, 72 km per hour. 27.4 mpg US, 8.6 L, 100 km, 32.9 mpg imp, at 60 miles per hour, 97 km per hour, and 30.1 mpg US, 7.8 L, 100 km, 36.1 mpg imp, in traffic. A road and track road test recorded acceleration from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 22.4 seconds, almost half of the VW's 39.2. However, the magazine noted that at 60 miles per hour, 97 kilometers per hour, a typical American cruising speed at the time, the Metropolitan was revving at 4,300 revolutions per minute, which shortened engine life, whereas the Volkswagen could travel at the same speed at only 3,000 revolutions per minute. Road and Tracks testers also said that the car had more than its share of roll and wallow on corners, and there was little seat of the pants security when the rear end takes its time getting back in line. Road Test magazine wrote in 1954 that, on roadability and responsive handling, the Met shines. It also offers easy maintenance and downright stinginess when it comes to gasoline consumption. Also, it's literally a brute for punishment. On several occasions I took familiar corners at speeds half again what I would dare to use in some cars of twice the weight, proof that proper weight distribution, low center of gravity and well-engineered suspension have more to do with roadability than massiveness, weight and long wheelbases. Admittedly, the short wheelbased Met does pitch moderately on very rough roads, but the sensitivity and ease of steering make driving a pleasure. Production at Austin's Longbridge factory started in October 1953, commencing VIN 1001. Nicknamed the Baby Nash, the cars were tiny. They had an 85 in, 2,159 mm, wheelbase, overall length of 149.5 in, 3,797 mm, and a gross weight of only 1,785 pounds, 810 kilograms, for the convertible and 1,825 pounds, 828 kilograms, for the hardtop, thus making the Metropolitan smaller than the Volkswagen Beetle. The two models, a convertible and a hardtop, were powered by the OHV 1200cc, 73 cu in, straight-four Austin, A40 series engine, as used in the Austin A40 Devon, Dorset, driving the rear wheels through a 3-speed manual transmission. The initial order was for 10,000 units, with an option to increase the order if sales were sufficient. The new model was initially to be called the NKI Custom, but the name was changed to Metropolitan just 2 months before its public release. New chrome nameplates with the Metropolitan name were made to fit into the same holes as the NKI Custom script on the passenger side front fender. Nash dealers had to rebadge the early cars that came with the NKI Custom name. Still, some factory manuals had already been prepared and distributed to service departments with the NKI name. The first examples badged as Nash went on sale on 19 March 1954, in the US and Canada. Autocar said that, at a production rate of less than 400 cars a week, it was hardly going to be a runaway bestseller. In surveys, Americans had affirmed a desire for economy cars, but in practice, they bought the Metropolitan in relatively small numbers. Although Nash merged with Hudson in 1954, and marketed the car as a Hudson Metropolitan in 1955, demand never took off from the original level, primarily because the Metropolitan was slow by North American standards. In the first month of sales, 862 Metropolitans were sold in U.S. and Canada, while in the first 6 months, a total of 7,042 were sold.